It's so wonderful talking with you. I'm such a big fan of this movie. It completely blew my mind, actually blew me away. It does things that I've honestly not seen in an action movie probably ever. And I just wanted to ask you, as a filmmaker and as a film fan and an action fan, in your mind, what distinguishes a great action movie from a mediocre one?
Well, I have to say, uh, well, I want to talk about Sisu in that sense because uh, you have to have something new in an like because you're definitely gonna have a lot of old, but you need to have something new. And with Sisu, I try to make the action scenes so that there are things that's gonna happen that no one can't guess before, and some inventive ways of dealing with all those situations. Uh, because I wanted to stand out from all the other films in that way.
Absolutely. And I think you definitely accomplished that with this film. And building off of that question and your answer as well, when you have this protagonist, I know you've talked a lot about the influences that Rambo had on them. That's a character that I think some people could view as just this kind of, action macho type character, but actually has a lot of humanity to him as
Mm.
well. And I wanted to know, as a writer, when you were crafting this protagonist of the film, how did you ensure that he would be both? He would be this compelling action hero, but wouldn't just be reduced to this kind of two or this one dimensional sort of just, action figure, so to speak.
The I think the first act of the film is really important for, of course, in all movies for the main character, and with this one, I really wanted to use some time to just be with the main character and show the people what he does, and he does the hard work, and he knows that the war is there, and we find out that there's something he has some troubles uh, because of the war, and just to show him with his only his two friends, the dog and the horse, and to be there in peace before the shit hits the fan. I think that's one of the key elements of that.
And what about the villains? Because obviously the Nazis are some of the most infamous villains in real life and, on and off screen. But as a screenwriter, how did you ensure that the villains of this film also had that two-dimension quality to them?
I just wanted to think the idea of what it would like to be in a situation that you've done horrible things, you've seen horrible things, uh, and you've basically gone through hell, and nothing matters anymore. Uh, there's no rules, there's nothing basically, and you've lost the war basically, uh, and I think that is also something that makes them even more dangerous because they don't have to follow orders, and they are dirty and fed up and bored and sad and all that. So I think that something like that, yeah.
Yeah. I wanted to ask though, because as a writer and the director of a film, what did you find more challenging personally? Because the hero of this film hardly has any lines in the movie. Did you find that more of a creative challenge as a writer, making him compelling, or did you find it more challenging as a director, trying to bring out the humanity of the character through a physical performance only?
Well, I think the writing was the hardest part because I I did most of the thinking when I wrote the script, and having not like that much dialogue, it was first a big struggle for me to trying to figure out a way how to write this, and it almost became like a novel in a way because I have to explain everything in detail and with pictures, and that's the key element of because when you are explaining everything with pictures, it basically makes it easier when you shoot it somehow, because it comes more easier than having to explain things in dialogue, because many things can go wrong when you are having a big dialogue scene. And I think for me as a director, they are the most challenging ones, to find a way how to make these dialogue scenes work as well as I want them to work. But not having dialogue, it's so much easier to just shoot it.
That's so surprising to hear. I think a lot of people would assume it would be the opposite. So it's so wonderful to hear that came more naturally to you. And, from what I can tell, you're not a badass trained lethal killer. I could be wrong, but from what I assume. But were there any aspects of the main character in the journey that he goes on to in this movie that you found yourself relating to personally?
Well, I hope to be like a man like Atami is, but I'm not. I just wanna invent characters like that, because, well, that would be something. Well, if I would be a man like Atami, I probably wouldn't make movies. So maybe it's better to make movies than be a war hero.
And speaking of making the film, this movie is reported to have a much smaller budget, one that I think most audiences would be pretty surprised to hear, given what we see in the final product. And I wanted to know, as a filmmaker with this grand vision and not wanting to compromise that just because of money, with a modest budget, how did you prioritize where to allocate those resources? Did you find yourself really wanted to focus a lot of money on special effects and not wanting to skimp on that, or the camera equipment, shooting on location? What aspects of this film's production did you personally, as a filmmaker, make sure that was well funded and we really had a lot of attention towards that?
Well, I don't think it like that. Me and the producer Petri Jokeranta, we always, when I'm writing a script, we of course make a budget to the script, like that we have enough for everything what's in the page. And I was also trying to write a script that we can manage in a way that we are not like forced to deal with like all the studios and like big movie stars and stuff like that. So because it's of course easier to make the film with your own terms, but what we did, we planned it so carefully and calculated that we have a good crew, the right type of equipment to film this, and enough money for the effects and stunts. So it's the stupidest thing is to, I think, like lying to yourself that I can manage this. We just gonna save enough money for the VFX and save the whole thing from there or something like that. It's always, it comes from the script.
I wanted to ask, though, along this creative process, I feel like the practical effects are really fun to do on set, and then afterwards take a lot of planning in order to do the CG effects, and there's meetings and consultations and all of that related to the film's creative process. As a filmmaker, which do you find easier to work with? Do you find, working in the natural environment and there's the wind and elements and all these things, do you find that easier working with practical effects, something the film has a lot of? Or is it a bit easier but might not look as good? Or, do you have a different perspective working in the CG effects afterwards? Which do you find easier or just more aligned with your kind of creative timeline here?
Well, of course, CGI is easier in a way that you are not forced to be on that spot doing it right there. You have a lot of more time to accomplish what you want to do. But I think the best result is always the combo, like the best of both worlds. If something goes wrong with the SFX, you still have something to build on VFX. and that's how I like to do it. And of course, there's some things that you mainly can't just do practically, like
Sure.
for instance the plane sequence in the end.
Mm-hmm. I wanted to ask though, one of the sequences in this movie that gets a big pop every time I see this trailer in the theater is that initial, stab to the Nazis' temple. It's crazy. It goes wild. It plays super well in the theater. And I just wanted to ask, yeah, I would assume as a filmmaker, you would prefer to keep moments like that in the theater, or do you feel that that moment works just as well as it does in the trailer because the audience is still having that surprise, but able to be the hook to go see this film? Do you prefer to keep those moments in the film, or do you like using those moments to really grab people in and generate that buzz?
Well, in Finland, in the trailer, I didn't want to show the stabbing in the head because I wanted to be as a surprise. But if you're talking about the US release or US trailer, I know that I don't have like a big movie stars or something like that to attract the people to come to see it. So it's fair to say that we have to show them something that they understand what is going on in this film. So I didn't fight for not showing the knife thing because I know that will bring hopefully people to the theater to see it.
Mm-hmm. And obviously, you're the writer and the director of the film, so you certainly deserve a lot of the credit for the film's success. But I wanted to know if there were any unsung heroes who played a crucial role in bringing the story to life and the final product that we eventually see on screen.
Well, of course, the producer Petri Jokiranta and the whole crew basically, because we worked in a really hard conditions and the focus puller, for example, because we moved with the camera a lot. There was a lot of movement and really difficult shots to make. Don't remember any like shot without like that we have to do something again because of the focus. He needs his place in history because I don't know, he was just fucking great with
it. Well, I agree. And this movie is absolutely wild. It was such a pleasure talking with you. And I hope this movie has a ton of success. And I hope everyone goes and sees Sisu. So thank you so much for joining me today. It was a real pleasure.
Thank you.